All right. This is Lambo's World of Sports. All right. Featuring the Big Brother, featuring Sideline Sports Network. Like I said, it's the game of the week. It's trending. He got his Cowboy stuff on. I got my Patriot stuff on. I look like an actual coach because it's actual coach's gear, by the way. But the Dallas Cowboys hoodie looks very, very nice and presentable, white and blue. I mean, the Patriots had the same colors away jerseys, not colors in general. But like I said, he has won 3 weeks of NFL picks, and my picks continue to suck because every time I think there's upsets, there's not really upsets. Every time I put them in parlays, they somehow lose. But the Eagles dominated the Bucs in timely fashion. All right, Jalen Hurts in over 21 starts is actually 20-1, dating back to last year. I guess when they got the new coach. So he's consistently won games. We don't remember the last time Jalen Hurts has lost. I don't remember, but he's lost one game. I thought the Bucs was going to do something last night, by the way, but obviously they came flat. But I'm not really mad about that. I thought the Bucs was going to do something. But hey, it's the first loss of the season. We thought the Bucs was going to be 0-3. And the Bengals do come out with a win against a Rams team, which we both picked the Bengals. I thought the Rams did have a chance to come back. But the interceptions of Matthew Stafford hurt them. Joe Burrow was playing through a re-injured calf. They did just enough to win the game. I can't blame them. I think that game was more exciting to watch than the Eagles and the Bucs game. What are your thoughts on this Eagles and Bucs game? And do you think they will win the NFC East?
I still think that it is a toss-up between the Cowboys and the Eagles to win the East. I think we're going to split our matchups again. I think we're both going to own the other two teams in the division. And, by the end of the year, I think it'll be like a one-game difference, and I could see either team being ahead of one another. For the game in particular, DeAndre Swift is finally looking like the running back we thought he was going to be out of college. And you could credit some of that, the shortcomings to, how he was used in Detroit. But, him being a consistent back now or consistent starter through 2 weeks, he's put up great numbers through 2 weeks. 130 yards and 8.1 yards a carry is nothing to shrug at. He's playing out of his mind right now. And it's finally up to the expectation I think that we were expecting from him coming out. AJ Brown went off finally. AJ's going to have AJ games. It's the whole thing on the sideline last week was overblown in my opinion. Quarterbacks and wide receivers are going to talk. And just because it's not like some polite sit down dinner having a conversation, it doesn't mean that there's any friction in the locker room. So, they found their connection. Devontae took a little bit of a backseat in this game. And when you have a great duo like that, that's going to happen. Let me stick with the Eagles real quick. Their defense looked great. Allowed 41 total rushing yards, 2.4 yards a carry. But that's kind of going towards more like Rachaad White's issue to me a little bit. He hasn't been the best as a pure, just runner through 3 weeks. Lost a fumble last night. Baker played mediocre. He wasn't great. He wasn't good, but he wasn't bad. Just very mediocre play from him, which is kind of why he's gotten tossed around a few times in the past few years. So we'll see. I think, they just played a team in terrible weather that was more talented than them. That's really what I think it boils down to. Hurts is not yet back to where he was last year. That's fine. It's only week 3 going into week 4. So not a big deal, but 2 interceptions that weren't pretty throws at all. Granted, the weather was bad. But he played well enough to lead him to a comfortable win. So yeah, I think the Eagles just completely overmatched the Bucs, and it wasn't the most entertaining game at all.
Yeah, you think the games that would be entertaining. I thought it'd be this one, but it was just a complete ass whooping from start to finish. I thought there was a point in time where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would do something as far as make a potential comeback, but that just wasn't the case here. The Eagles were overmatched just with the run game, and they did whatever they wanted. And that's what it came down to. Now, the Eagles defense did play a little bit better than they did the first 2 weeks. Like, they gave up some deep points against the Vikings. They gave up some points against the Patriots. But I feel like the defense did show some improvement, is what I saw in that game. I wish there was really more to talk about, but it's really not, especially when the game was dominated, at least in the first 3 quarters. I mean, at point, the score was 22-3. I mean, there was a drive in the fourth quarter. I think they were in the red zone beginning of the fourth quarter. I was like, hey, they scored a touchdown. I'm gonna cut this game off. I'm gonna go watch the Rams and the Bengals. But that just wasn't the case. I feel like offensively for the Eagles, they still miss opportunities in the red zone. And just like we was talking about with the Cowboys, they can drive the ball down the field. And y'all got a great team, but it comes to that red zone where I feel like they miss some red zone opportunities. Jalen Hurts did throw a pick as well. So there's just things along the lines. Like I said, it's week 3. We're not going to panic. The Eagles next week do play the Commanders. It will be a game to watch because, it's an NFC East rivalry game. It's very competitive. It's very close. The Buccaneers look to play the Saints. It could be a win either way. If Derek Carr doesn't play, they'll probably have a better chance of winning. I mean, there's a possibility they could pull up an upset, but we don't know. I mean, that depends on the status of Derek Carr and his AC sprain, the shoulder, and then, Jameis Winston can't get the goddamn job done because there's no way you can't score at least 3 points to beat the Packers. So I'm just very suspicious as far as the Saints side of things. But the next game I want to get into is, of course, the Rams, Bengals. It's a close game. I didn't mind it. I think it was great entertainment. But the turnovers for Matthew Stafford, it was he didn't throw a touchdown pass, I think, till late in the game. If I'm being correct, it was late in the game because at one point in the game, he had like 245 yards passing and he had 2 picks. So he finished with 18 of 33, 269, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. The run game was very mediocre, like I said, with Kyron Williams. And I know I've hyped up the Rams as far as the run game. They've gotten better. They made adjustments of how they run play design-wise, like what the 49ers do. But this run game was awful. They still had Puka was the leading receiver. Tyler Higbee was the second leading receiver. Tutu Atwell, he had a touchdown here and there, but I guess the Rams just struggled on the road once again. And then Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, 26 of 49. He did just enough. 259. He did throw a pick. I think both teams couldn't really run the ball in this instance, but Jamar Chase was the big deal with 12 receptions for 141 yards. Cincinnati does avoid an 0-3 start, which we both picked the Bengals because I didn't think the Bengals was going to start 0-3. I think they was going to, it's a Monday night game. It's at home. They're going to do something. Like I said, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't well. What are your thoughts on this game? And do you think the Bengals have a potential shot at making the AFC Championship game again? Because like last year, 0-2 AFC Championship game. This year, 0-2, they get the win. Is there a possibility they can go to the AFC Championship game and can they still win the AFC North despite Baltimore losing to the Colts?
Well, starting with the North, we both agreed that it was between those two at the start of the season, and you look now, we're 3 weeks in, and the Bengals are only 1 game back. So, I definitely think, it's too early to write them off or anything. We saw the same thing last year, and, injuries happen on every team. So it's really between these two determining who's going to be better. I think it's going to be whose team is healthier. Joe's still not 100%. We know that. He threw barely over 50% in the pick, so it's not like he went out there and balled out or anything. They just played in what was unfortunately also a not entertaining game, which has been the theme of these Monday night games so far. I don't think you can write either one of these teams off just because, the Bengals started 0-2 and the Ravens lost to the Colts. I think both of these guys are still going to be top of the North, and it's, going to come down to who's healthier as a whole by the end of the year. And yeah, I definitely think that any team Joe Burrow is leading, granted you have to have the right weapons, but Joe is still one of the top tier quarterbacks in the league despite a shaky start, but he's been hurt. So I think depending on his health, you have to consider them as major possibility of them going to the AFC Championship. And I think that's a thing every year. Joe and Jamar are teamed up together. You have to consider, and with the defense playing as well as it's played, I understand that they're 1-2, but when your quarterback throws 80 yards in a game and your running back is only averaging 3.5 a carry, you're not gonna, you're not gonna win too many games like that. So their defense has played well, and if they can stay healthy, obviously, you have to consider them a contender for sure.
Yes, I do agree. I'm very confident in the Bengals. Like I said, I had Dio on late last night, last minute adjustments. But he's very confident. Well, he's confident in the Bengals. I'm very confident. A big Bengals guy. But going into the next episode, we're going to be talking about Thursday night football. Okay, the Lions versus Packers. It's a rivalry game. Hopefully it's entertaining, better than, the 49ers and the Giants, to the point that we both just don't go to sleep. You know what I'm saying? Because it wasn't entertaining. Not that we didn't think the 49ers was going to win. They dominated, of course, but it just wasn't entertaining. I feel like this game is entertainment because the Lions bring in juice. The Lions have that hype. I think Green Bay has shown, something. But like I said, Jordan Love, what you said about Jordan Love, he's not a bad quarterback. But you say, he's passing over 50%, and, he gets, his good completions, I guess, towards the end. And then, maybe between the first and second quarter, he kind of struggles, misses throws and stuff here and there. So I think that would be a good topic to watch, as we'll talk about that next. And by the way, I have to tell you this on camera. Me talking to Dio last night, I don't know if he was just talking out of his ass, but he goddamn thinks. All right, I think he says in a different world or whatever he says. And as much as I respect him, he thinks the damn Lions have a chance to go to the Super Bowl. That's what he told me in our interview that you have to watch. That he thinks the Lions have a better chance of going to the Super Bowl. I mean, I hope they beat the Cowboys, but I don't think they're a better team than Dallas. He thinks they can beat the 49ers, which that's completely impossible, and thinks they're better than the Eagles. So on the next episode when we talk about that, I want you to respond to that. And it's not going to create any beef. I just want you to be honest and respond to that, because I thought that was just the most outrageous thing, okay? We both have high hopes for the Lions, but they ain't there going to no damn Super Bowl, all right? But we're going to talk about that later. But it's Lambo's Motorsports, Fish's Big Brother. We got to get into that.